going on there, guys? We back with another one. We got to speak on this Steve Wilks situation with the Carolina Panthers. I thought Steve Wilks did an incredible job, yo. The team was 1-4 when he took over. They finished 7-10, so he went 500 the last portion of the season he was hired. 6-6, and he's actually, if you look at that and you check the statistics, he has the best record of any Carolina Panthers football coach. And when he reached the 5-5 mark, he had the best record in the first 10 games of any Carolina Panthers football head coach. You go back and look it up. It's factual. Now, there's long been speculation that not even speculation. There's long been a lot of evidence that during the hiring process, as it pertains to head coach in the National Football League, that race plays a big factor in, the likelihood you'll actually get the job. And I feel like this is just the latest chapter in that book. You know what I'm saying? Because Frank Wright, the guy they just hired, was fired from Indiana after underachieving. Steve Wilks had the Panthers in a position where within the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, even after starting 1-4, they were still optimistic about getting into the postseason. Albeit the division was bad this year, but they started pretty much behind everybody in the division. But he gave them what they've lacked since the Cam Newton years, and that's an identity, man. Sam Darnold played better once he came out there. They went back to grounding and pounding and controlling the clock, and DJ Moore, I think he's a stud. I just think he hasn't been in the right offense. You put DJ Moore on the right team, though, we're going to be talking about him with all the other top receivers in the NFL. Trust me. He just don't have nobody to get him the ball. And, well, he didn't have the offense, but as far as, towards the end of the season, Sam Darnold and DJ Moore has some good chemistry. So, and I hate that Steve Wilks is gone, because I think the guys was responding well to him and the team was starting to establish an identity. Shoot, they went through 3 quarterbacks last season. P.J. Walker, Baker Mayfield, who was traded away. And it's like, man, the chips were stacked against Wilks, man. And he came in there and did a good job. So Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith, and Marcus Spears went in on this, guys, and I'm going to let you hear what they had to say. Check it out.
Yeah, I think, first off, Steve Wilks handled this the way that he's supposed to handle it, because how else are you going to handle it? It's not like he's going to go do something else. He's not going to go sell cars because he didn't get the head coaching job of the Carolina Panthers. To take over in a team that has no organizational consistency, and you can do what he was able to do with some of the same players that Matt Rule was paid $70 million to coach, you say to yourself, this is a guy that's proven in the heat of the moment, in that exact building, that he is the man for the job. There's a race problem in the NFL. There's a discrimination problem in the NFL. And to that, I say, duh. This is nothing new. This is not something that we're talking about for the very first time when it comes to coaches. And we speak about it all the time, and I'm tired of the broken record of saying, look at ownership. What is ownership familiar with? Ownership is familiar with themselves. They're familiar with the people that move around in the rooms they move around in. The people in the rooms they move around in as billionaires look like them. And so, whereas I'd like to say I'm surprised, I'm actually not. I was hopeful that Steve Wilks would get the job, and clearly it looks like he got a fair chance in the interview process, but David Tepper went with somebody that was like him.
I think these coaches, these black coaches, have realized maybe the only way we find some significant change or movement in this conversation is through the law. And I don't even know if that is going to work. I'm emotionally exhausted talking about black coaches and should they be hired and does the credentials line up? Because they do. Frank Wright got fired because his football team was bad. Steve Wilks led a team to 6-6 on the verge of making the playoff. I'm just making a point. You do whatever you want to do with it. He went 6-6 with the Carolina Panthers after they had to fire Matt Rule, when they were not having success. Carolina was a game away from going into the playoffs playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just hired a coach that got fired for a bad year and season over the coach that almost resurrected their season and got them into the playoffs. If it's not about success, if it's not about what you've done, if it's not about the position that you've put yourself in, how do you get them? How do you get these jobs? When guys who literally have been more of a failure than you have ascend and get a job that you potentially were in the running for, what is your response supposed to be?
People want to act like it's not a problem, and it is a problem. When I first saw Steve Wilks' lawyer comment, I will confess to the both of you that my initial reaction was nervousness, because I understand how this goes. The fact that he got a lawyer involved is going to be held against him. And the reality of the situation is, how many people can Mike Tomlin hire? You had people a couple of years ago that were trying to get Mike Tomlin fired. Okay? I mean, this is how bad it gets for us. You're bringing up white dudes that are not qualified and giving them jobs over these black candidates, which makes it worse. The owners have known this for decades. The league has known this for decades. They implemented a rule years ago, decades ago, to address this issue. They have a person they pay in excess of $40 million a year in Commissioner Roger Goodell, who literally works tirelessly with Troy Vincent and others to help implement these rules and to make sure they're followed. And still, they get violated. And the reason last point, here's the reason they don't care. Because the ratings ain't gonna change. Because the fans are gonna continue to watch the sport. And dare I say this, because the black players in the National Football League are only going to do but so much.
Yeah, guys, so I agree with all three of these guys. They all seem to be exhausted. And sometimes people say Stephen A. Smith takes soft stances on these type issues, but he clearly didn't like this on today. And they brought up good points. Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, they talked about how Wilks resurrected their season. Almost gave them life to get into the playoffs, and they would have faced the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that would have been a much more competitive game than they had with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they were if he wasn't starting in a 1-4 hole, I think he would have made it, man. So I agree with everything they said, every single thing. Now, like Marcus Spears said, what is the criteria when you hire candidates that are less qualified over proven candidates that take what somebody else was losing with and make the team 500, and not only that, I'm forgetting one key thing, guys. Who's the star running back for the San Francisco 49ers now? Christian McCaffrey. So McCaffrey ended up getting traded during the season too, so you lose one of your biggest weapons and you still go 6-6 and almost get into the postseason on a team that was dead in the water, 3 quarterbacks in the same season. And so my biggest problem with all of this, guys, is why hold that man hostage if you know that he wasn't a real candidate for the job? You took him through the interview process, this, that, and the third. But now you've taken some time away where other jobs have been filled. Let him know at the end of the season. See, for him not to be looking for another position or anything like that, there were some chatter like favorable that he would be retained. For him not to go look out for himself. I mean, the man got a family to feed and everything, so he's not just gonna sit around if he don't feel like he's got a job or he don't have a good chance of staying there as the head coach. And so you look around the league, other positions getting filled that he could have had, and y'all hold him for 3 weeks knowing good and well you never had no intention on hiring him. I think that's bogus because I know it's a lot behind the scenes that he won't reveal. Because like Stephen A and M said, you know, there's a lawsuit out against them. He released a nice statement today, man, talking about, you know, the opportunity to coach the Panthers and everything. And a lot of people, I mean, some people wanted to see him come out fussing and being all mad, but that wouldn't have got him nowhere either. You know, there may be somebody else that comes along and gives him an opportunity, but I think he should have been the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, man, I think it's unfair, and I'm glad to see these guys step up for him. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.